Okay, our third speaker of the evening is Gregory Hallman. This is his speech number 7. Length is six minutes. It's from the Competent Communication book. And his objective is to assist the audience in becoming aware of brain chemicals that can affect our thinking and behavior. The speech title, it's My Crazy Hypothalamus again. Did I say that right? Hypothalamus. Okay. After doing some research for his 7th speech on research for the topic, Gregory had discovered how many natural brain chemicals being released by the hypothalamus and the adrenal glands can have crazy effects on our behavior. Having the knowledge of these chemicals might help us to understand better what is going on, so we can perhaps catch ourselves and avoid behaviors and reactions that can be detrimental to the way we really want to be and act. So Greg Hallman, it's My Crazy Hypothalamus again. Whew.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Greg.
It's amazing, isn't it, how completely influencing our brain and endocrine chemicals can be. They can completely take control over the way we think, feel, and act. Wouldn't you agree? Sometimes these chemicals can seriously affect our relationships and our work. Wouldn't you agree they can become even more detrimental if our job involves communication or speechification? I think if we have a better understanding of how our body chemicals work and increase our awareness of them, this can make a big difference for us. The gland that is mostly responsible for all these troubling chemicals is the hypothalamus. It's a pulsating, throbbing little gland near the base of our brain that is like a tiny little mini chemical factory. Its job is to assemble the tiny little peptides which are made from small chain amino acids. There's a neuropeptide and or neurohormone for virtually every human emotion. Anger, sadness, victimization, lust, hunger, fear, sleepiness. The hypothalamus and adrenal glands release these chemicals into the bloodstream. The peptides then dock on other cells all over our bodies. These cells then also feel the same effects and react similarly to our minds, as each cell has a central nervous system of its own, much like we do. With all our cells singing the same tune now, can you see how it might be difficult to maintain control over our feelings? Some of the peptides that we probably should be most concerned with are cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. Ever heard of a cortisol rush? This neuropeptide usually arises from an unmet expectation or the appearance of a major problem. It is also the chemical that gives us the feeling of fear, often referred to as false evidence appearing real, because sometimes it can be a lot more emotional than it really needs to be. Cortisol also is known to cause the butterflies in the stomach that we are so familiar with prior to when we give a speech. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are the peptides that work with the adrenal gland. Norepinephrine is responsible for the fight or flight response that causes us to check out or want to leave. You could tell someone is checking out when you see their eyes go up and to the right or left. Epinephrine makes us want to escape and avoid. What really amazes me is how fast these peptides can work. When someone is easily controlled by these chemicals and they're more often released, the glands seem to get better at generating the peptides, and the cells become more and more adept to receiving them. For some of us, these resulting chemical influxes and emotions and our feelings increase. We can become addicted, just like many other drugs, if we're not careful. A good example of that would be like the victimization. I don't know if you've ever heard anybody ever say, "Why does it always happen to me?" The following two are feel-good peptides, where this becomes really easy and perhaps even preferred as long as we don't let them get out of hand. Dopamine is the feel-good peptide that we usually feel when we fantasize. It's fun to go off in our imagination and think about cool things we will have or would like to do, but we have to be careful about this one. We can get lost and lose focus on important tasks at hand. Last but not least, serotonin. It is a well-known contributor to feelings of well-being. Therefore, it is also known as a happiness hormone. In response to the perceived abundance or scarcity of resources, our growth, reproduction, or mood may be elevated or lowered. Genetic studies have demonstrated serotonin has strong associations with depression with regards to a negative environment. As you might imagine, keeping this one balanced is very important. The chemistry that is created is vast, and we just touched on a few points of what I find to be a very interesting subject. I really enjoyed researching. The cool part is, once you know that these signals originate from our thoughts, the big relief comes when we find out that we can modify those chemicals being released just by changing our thoughts a little bit, or our thought processes. So now that we know what is happening, it will be easier to catch ourselves because we know what those crazy peptides feel like. This will ultimately allow us to have well-balanced equanimity. Mr. Toastmaster.